Welcome to Encounter, where we celebrate putting faith into action and community leaders who live out compassion, grace, and love. We're a program of the Broome County Council of Churches that addresses food insecurity through CHOW and the Greater Good Grocery, provides hospital and jail ministry, builds wheelchair ramps, and assists neighbors with transportation and shopping services through Faith in Action volunteers. We invite you to the conversation. Encounter your neighbors as we learn to walk together in love and kindness. Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Encounter. I'm apparently your host, Jeff Kellam, because I'm wearing a tie. The other guy that's wearing a tie is Richard Tylicki, who is our guest today, General Manager of the Richmond Rumble Ponies. We don't see each other dressed this way ordinarily at the ballpark.
We do not. We usually see each other in much more casual attire at
That's
Lorado
right.
Stadium.
And I was tempted. I had that El Condores, is that what it is? The jersey that was given away, and I was going to wear it, and I thought it might have advertising on it that we may not want to. Well, anyway, good morning, and we're going to be talking obviously about baseball, but we also want to talk about the sense of community that's built not only around the ballpark, but also on the field. Even if you're not into baseball, and I understand some folks aren't, the sense that people come together with a common thing that they enjoy, no matter whether it's music or sports or church. There's something that draws us to want to be with one another and to share stories and to enjoy experiences together. So, Richard, I wanted to have you on for some time. I know you're a big fan of the show.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so you do listen. What brought you to be the general manager of a Double-A baseball team? This is not a dream that you had in high school, I assume.
No, it was not. But I wanted to work in sports, and my undergrad degree is actually English, but my master's is in sport management.
Oh, wow.
And this job brought me here actually 30 years ago to work for the Binghamton Mets.
Right.
And I was in operations. I was the stadium operations director, and I actually had a dual career. I think I had a long military career.
Yeah.
So I spent almost 30 years in the Army National Guard and had the opportunity to deploy 5 times and did all sorts of great things. But I stayed at it for a long time, and then the opportunity to become the general manager happened about a year and a half ago. And when it was offered to me, it was on an interim basis. At that point, I took it, and then about 6 months into it, they made it permanent.
You've always wanted to be a general.
A general, yes. I didn't make general. I made lieutenant colonel.
Oh, okay.
But there was always a goal to be the top person, so that the decisions you make have an impact, a critical impact on the organization.
Sure. And it's quite an organization. When you go to the ballpark, you realize that there's a staff there that's selling tickets from the box office, taking the tickets as you go in. There's the store, there's the concessions, there's the guys on the field trimming the grass and putting down the lines. And then you finally get to the first pitch. You realize there are also players. Describe this whole thing for me on a day-to-day basis for you.
It's a complex small business. There's no doubt about it. And all these different areas that you name have to be synchronized. Now, the player portion comes from New York. There's an agreement that's signed between the Binghamton Rumble Ponies and the New York Mets that they stock us with players, and in exchange for that, we provide all sorts of amenity from travel on the road to hotel on the road to a facility to weightlifting facility, a field, all of that.
Yeah.
But all the other areas belong to us. We have about 150 or so part-time employees that'll come in and serve concessions and tickets, and we have to train them and make sure they're ready, staff them, and we'll look at attendance and we'll look at weather and make a decision on how many people that we need to work in all these different areas. But they all are doing their own thing, so to speak, but they all have to be synchronized and ready for that first pitch, whether that means the food's cooked, the store's open, the box office is selling tickets, the groundskeeper has to have the field ready. All of that is happening simultaneously.
Sure. And when I'm thinking of these days when the weather is questionable, I'm just fascinated by the fact that you go to the ballpark and you think, who decided to fully staff the concession stand, expecting a good crowd, but the clouds are overhead, so maybe we only need one. Is that your decision, or
in the end it is, but obviously I have subject matter experts that'll advise me, just like any business would, and we'll look at the weather, we'll look at the expected crowd, and then we use historical data to make a decision on how many people we need. Sometimes we don't get it right.
Yeah, right,
And when you have long lines, sometimes that's why. But most of the time we've got it down, pretty good idea of what we think we're going to have on any given night.
Right. So this whole idea of running a stadium, the Rumble Ponies don't own the stadium, the New York Mets don't own the stadium. You're cooperating with the city and the operation of the stadium. When folks come into the ballpark, they are now your responsibility to keep safe from flying baseballs and that kind of thing. but then your management also goes to the team itself. I mean, you're the manager not of the stadium, but of the team, right? General manager.
Well, I am and I'm not. I'm the leader of the small business, but ultimately, unlike the major leagues where you have a general manager that will make decisions on player personnel, scouting, drafting, I have nothing to do with that. Yeah. That's controlled by New York. They make the decisions on who's going to come to Binghamton. They make the decision on who's going to get promoted, traded. That's really up to the field manager in the New York Mets. I'll work in concert with them to make sure they have all the amenities they have, and then run the other parts of the business that we were talking about.
So how does it feel to have a winning team this year?
Well, it's always fun to win. And we're exceptionally good this year. And you've been to games. We're approximately, I think, 28 games or so above 500. The Eastern League in 2019 went to a split season. So they have a first half winner and a second half winner, and then the two will meet in the playoffs. In our case, we've already won the first half, so we know we're in the playoffs. We will have a playoff game on September 18th at 6:07 at night, so please come out. It'll be game 2 of a 3-game series. Wow. So it's nice. It's always a lot more fun when you're winning. It really creates, you were talking community earlier, and I think one thing that winning does is it creates sort of civic pride. You're proud to have a team, and you're proud to be part of Binghamton.
Yeah. My previous guest was Paul Sinema of the Binghamton Philharmonic. We were talking about a city the size of Binghamton having a Philharmonic of that quality that brings people out to enjoy music together. The Rumble Ponies are the athletic other side of that it's a small city. It's the smallest city in the league, isn't it?
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
It's the smallest AA market, not just the Eastern League.
Right.
But if you took all the AA leagues, which also include the Southern League and the Texas League, Binghamton is the smallest AA market in all of affiliated baseball.
What kind of challenge is that for you?
It creates a lot of challenges because a lot of the expenses are the same. But it also goes back to what you were saying about the Philharmonic. It's a sense of community pride because there are only 120 affiliated teams in this country. Yeah. And Binghamton is fortunate enough to have one of those affiliated teams right here, affiliated with a major league team. And that's really important. There are cities bigger than Binghamton that don't have affiliated teams. Yeah. So just that fact alone, it creates some pride.
Yeah. I was talking with the people who were sitting behind me at a game recently, and they'd been to Richmond and toured the stadium there. They knew somebody and wanted to see what the stadium looked like. And someone said, "No, where are you from?" And they said, "Well, it's a little town in upstate New York. You probably have never heard of it." And because they were just playing with them, they knew they'd heard of it. And they finally said, well, where? And they said, well, it's Binghamton. And the Richmond person went, oh, because Binghamton kind of owned that series when Richmond came to play here. So the big city guys look at Binghamton as a small little town, but the team is doing so well this year that this is a year that the Curve don't own Binghamton, and Binghamton owns the Curve, and so on. Right. So as we talk about community, and it's one thing to talk about the sense of pride that the city has in a team, but there's also a sense of community on the field. Tell me about your relationship. You must see the players at work and at play. What's their sense of community like?
We do. I mean, the players are usually showing up for a night game around 12 noon, and they're on the field between noon and 1. Everything from taking individual drills leading into batting practice and the pitchers. And we get to know them a little bit and talk to them. They come from all over the United States and different countries, as you know, Latin America. You mentioned your Condors jersey at the beginning of the show. And we try to integrate them into the community a little bit. Most of them live in Johnson City, the Grand Monarch, which is on Grand Avenue in Johnson City. A lot of them live there. We work hard to get them out at different player appearances. Some were at the library the other day, for example. So they become part of the community. And we really believe at the Rumble Ponies that we enrich the community, and we do that by delivering great experiences, and we do that by delivering lasting memories. And that can be at the ballpark, or it can be at some of these events that we just talked about with players, and also with our 2 mascots, Rowdy and Ruby, who everybody loves.
Right. You know, when we went to I'm in the booster club, of course, for the Rumble Ponies, and there's an annual trip to New York City to Citi Field to watch the games, and we often get to go into the press room and meet some of the players, especially those only those who played at Binghamton. They show up to say hello. They all look at Binghamton as being a wonderful, not only a part of their career, but they enjoyed being in Binghamton. They enjoyed going to Wegmans. I mean, that's a big deal. I don't care whether these guys are from Venezuela or Toledo. Going to Wegmans to them is
it's quite an experience.
And they enjoy the Italian restaurants, but they have wonderful memories of being in Binghamton. And we're talking about Pete Alonso, and we're talking about Jeff McNeil, and so on.
They do, and it's funny you say that, because I believe it was yesterday Brent Beatty, who played for us, plays for the New York Mets now, announced his engagement, and he met his wife here in Binghamton. She was a Binghamton University volleyball player, and they met at some sort of establishment in Binghamton, and now they're getting married. And I believe 8 of our former players liked it so much that they have wives here, and they settled in Binghamton.
Wow.
Matt Raleigh probably being the biggest name, but there are 7 others also that are in either Binghamton or the Binghamton area.
Right.
So.
Our guest today is Richard Tylicki, who is the general manager of the Binghamton Rumble Ponies. We're talking about, obviously, baseball, but also a sense of community and community pride in our local area. The players are young, sometimes fresh out of high school. I mean, when we asked Jonah Tong where he went to college, he said he didn't go to college. He kind of went to high school, played a little bit, and now he's one of the top prospects in the Mets organization. But these guys come and they're learning the game, but also I think they're learning life itself, life skills, because of the atmosphere of athletic training, discipline, playing the sport, winning and losing. As you look at these guys coming up, what about the younger athletes who kind of idolize them? And the ballpark's full of kids.
It is, yes.
And some of the kids are actually watching the game. I mean, others are running around and buying cotton candy. But,
oh yes.
Yeah, but talk a little bit about how sports shapes young lives.
As I said earlier, I think it's so important, because I think that it creates a sense of work ethic in people, trying to establish and meet a goal, whether it be an individual goal that you want to bat a certain average, or you want to play a certain position, or it could be a team goal, winning a championship. Yeah. So goal setting would be another one. The idea that you work together as a group, because when we become adults and go in the world, we have to deal with all types of people in all lines of work. I saw that both with the Mets and Rumble Ponies and when I was in the Army. So that's another thing I think that being part of a team allows you to do. Yeah. And then I think coming to our park and seeing the professional players for those young kids, how they conduct themselves, whether it be batting or catching or running, is a way for the young ones to learn as well.
Yeah. So watching the kids run across the field at the end of the game or run the bases at the end of the game, that's for some it will become a dream come true eventually when they run the bases. I'm also interested, of course, as a person of faith. I see players who will cross themselves. I see people pray on the field. I mean, some pitchers come to the mound and take a moment, what they're doing. Faith is a very active part of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, for one thing. Is there a chaplain for the team?
There is, yes. So Tom O'Connor, I don't know if you know Tom.
No.
He was affiliated with Davis College for many years, and he's now on his own. But Tom has served as our chaplain for 22 or 23 years. So he'll work with the home team, and he'll get to know those guys. But he'll visit the visiting team and the umpires. And he'll do a short service on Sunday mornings. And then he's also there for counseling if some of the guys are struggling.
Sure.
And plays an important role. He's one of the. I'm glad you brought that up because I think he's one of the hidden gems for the Rumble Ponies. And I found that in the Army too. That the only person who really knew what was going on in the Army is the chaplain, because everybody came to him with their problems, and then he was a voice piece for the commander. But and
keeping confidence.
Right, and that confidence. And the same thing I think happens in baseball with Tom. Now, Tom deals more with the players rather than our staff, but he plays an important role, and he is there to help them with their faith and to provide religious services on Sunday as well.
And it's a very ecumenical kind of ministry because some of these guys come from very strong Catholic families, especially those south of the border. And then others are going to be, Baptists, Methodists, Presbyterians, and so he's the chaplain, as a military chaplain would be to everyone, no matter the faith.
He is, right. You're exactly right. And I've seen more people, more players that are rooted in their faith now than I did in maybe previous years. There was a period there where maybe I didn't see that as much, but I think the last two groups, we have a few players with very strong religious beliefs and faith. Yes.
Right. So you got a master's in sports management.
Correct.
And so what did you do after you got your master's degree before coming to Binghamton? Now, you've been here 30 years, so
I got my master's, and I worked briefly for the Tennessee Secondary School Athletic Association, which would be the equivalent to the New York Public High School State Athletic Association. It's a long series of words there. Worked with them briefly. Then I went off to my officer basic course. I remember I'm doing both of these things at the same time. That was in Fort Huachuca. I was military intelligence, but spent most of my career as armor. But maybe that's another conversation. And then I couldn't find a job. I was working in Kentucky, just doing odd jobs, and then finally landed a job selling windows out of Louisville, Kentucky. And I had the chance to go to the 1994 baseball winter meetings, and in conjunction with that, they had a job seminar. I interviewed with multiple teams. I got 5 job offers, but the best one was in Binghamton. So I came to Binghamton. R.C. Reutemann, the original GM, and his assistant Scott Brown hired me, and I came to Binghamton, and the rest is history. I stayed here. I mean, there was always a reason I was ready to leave, but something always kept me here. And then later on, I started deploying so much with the Army. It was like I might as well just come back to Binghamton. There was nowhere else to go.
Right.
So I
and
stayed.
You've embedded yourself in the community. I've met you at a UE football game.
Yes.
And you've been a part of the whole Triple Cities area, and not just doing PR. I mean, you're just going because you enjoy the community. It's just
right. I do. I mean, in Binghamton, I've always said about Binghamton, it's big enough that you don't know everybody, but it's small enough that you're somebody. And I grew up in the Cleveland area, so there's a lot of commonalities there with the ethnic, festivals, with the high school football. I grew up with all that, and I love all that. So when there's events, I like to clam bakes, whatever it is, I love to go to it, love to be part of it.
Sure. My train of thought went from we were talking about faith and the chaplain and so on, and that took me to the idea of some of these baseball. You mentioned selling windows, for example, in your career. Many of these baseball players in AAA or AA are not going to go much further, and they're going to wind up selling windows or a beer distributorship or something. Have you seen the drama of players who know they're just not going to cut it?
I haven't really been as part of that as much. That's really more the New York Mets. If the New York Mets get to the point where they're going to release someone or trade someone, that's a private conversation that happens between them and the players. Now, we may help them leave, so you see them obviously downcast or dejected when they leave, but I haven't really been closely a part of that part of the game.
The other part of sports and faith is that many religious communities, worshiping communities on Sunday mornings are seeing their kids go through like confirmation class and kind of feel like they graduated, and now they're playing sports on Sunday mornings. They're playing soccer, they're playing lacrosse, they're playing hockey. And I remember when I was the pastor in Trumansburg, we had some issues with a lot of our kids were committed to sports on Sunday mornings, and we went to the school, and the school said, not us. It's the community leagues that are doing that. And it's a real challenge. You want to nurture faith, but you also need to have a bridge between the local pastor, priest, rabbi, and the coaches, so that there's an alternative maybe, so kids can still find religious nurture and faith.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I believe Sunday morning should be left for church or for services. And I think the earliest we've ever played a game is 1:05. So hopefully that gives you a chance to get to services and then come to the game.
Have you done the thing where, I mean, some people, if you bring a church bulletin, you get in free. And people said, well, that's fine for the Christians, but what if you're Jewish? You're not going to have a church bulletin to show. So, building bridges with the faith community is important, but it doesn't always work out
completely.
The best.
You're right.
So I understand the challenges that you have as a general manager. That you have the concessions, you have the box office, you have the player relationships with the team, and so on. What do you find as the most fulfilling part of being the general manager of the Rumble Ponies?
There are two areas I feel. Number one, at a small organization, I like the idea that a lot of the decisions we make and a lot of the ideas we have are implemented. And sometimes when you're with a bigger company, you feel like your voice is lost.
Yeah.
And then I think the other is you sort of see the fruits of your labor when you're there and you're having a good time. You feel good about yourself. I'll visit the skyboxes, the picnic area. You've seen me in the stands walking around, getting feedback. You're always going to get some negative feedback. And there's always areas to improve, right? We have to improve our life everywhere. We have to improve our operation. But just seeing the game and the event being put on, it's meaningful. Right. I've done other jobs where you don't necessarily always see the end result. And I think there we get to see it. So those two areas.
Yeah, that reminds me of, as a pastor, you don't see very many results sometimes. And I used to enjoy just getting on the riding mower and doing my acre and a half in Ithaca, and looking back and thinking, I did that. I saw the results, and I appreciate the fact that you can go to the ballpark and the game is going well, or maybe it's not, but you look at the people in the stands are having a good time.
Correct.
And so there is a feling of satisfaction there, right?
There is. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. And I think, too, probably during the past 2 or 3 seasons, things didn't always go as well for the team. And does the success of the team influence the attendance?
It really doesn't, at least in my feeling with minor league baseball. I think people are going for the family entertainment, for all the other things that we're providing.
Right.
I think where it helps is if you do have a winning team, as you get to the end of the year, I believe it may help because people will be like, they're winning, let's go check them out.
Yeah.
It's an extra playoff game, let's go watch the game.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit, but I don't think it matters quite as much.
Right. Well, and I'm really glad that the season will be extended, a little bit, and we hope a lot as the Rumble Ponies play. And what happens if they win the second season as well as the first part of the season.
So if we did win the second part, and this happened 2 years ago, Somerset won the first half and the second half, they'll take the second place team in the second half
to play in the playoffs.
So that's how we got in 2023, and then upset Somerset, you might recall, in the first round. And then, unfortunately, we lost in the finals to Erie. Right. So that's how that would work it. So it is possible that the team with the second best record or potentially the best record overall could be left out of the playoffs. But the year that we got in as the second place team, we did have the best overall record for the second place team.
Right. So, and we've been talking about the sense of community and so on. Whenever I leave the ballpark, you're there, thanking people for coming. You have a presence there because of the bridge that you're building with the fans, and fans are part of the greater community, the populace. You really do enjoy walking around the stands and saying hello and being personal. I mean, you're not sitting in an office someplace. Yeah,
I do. I love talking to the fans, and without the fans, we don't have anything, really. Right. I mean, you need the players first in the field.
Right.
But if you don't have anybody watching the game, there's nothing. So you need all three or you don't have a team. So it's important. We want to treat the fans as best we can so that they come back and spread the word and maybe have some people come to a game that normally would not.
All right, now find the red light. There it is. Well, I want your red light over here. I want you to invite people to the ballpark.
All right, I'd love you to come out. We have a homestand starting on July 29th. We'll have 6 in a row at home, and we'll be playing Somerset during that period. Harrisburg during that period, which is the Washington Nationals. I think we have a Bark in the Park on Tuesday the 29th. Wednesday is a afternoon game, our Super Splash game. I don't know if you've ever been to that. That's where we have wet and dry sections and get the kids wet. And then over the weekend, we'll be playing as the Binghamton Speedies, sponsored by Lupo's. And on the Saturday of that weekend, we're giving away bowling shirts. With the raffle, we'll raffle those off with the proceeds going to the Southern Tier Community Center. And then later in August, we'll be playing as the Southern Tier Spicy Meatballs to honor the Italian heritage of our area and giving away shirts on the 15th. So lots of good things.
Which beats being the oat milkers, which was last year's.
That was forced on us by minor league baseball.
I know. Our guest today on Encounter has been Richard Tylicki, who's the general manager of the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, and it's been a delight to have you here and to get a little bit of inside information about our local baseball team. As a kid who went to Binghamton Triplets games at Johnson Field, this has been a long part of my tradition here in the community to be a baseball fan. Thank you for joining us for Encounter. It's produced by the Broome County Council of Churches, which is a big part of the community, through its chow of efforts to feed the hungry in our community, chaplaincy programs at the prison and the hospital. I'm Jeff Kellam, Parish Associate at Union Presbyterian Church in Endicott, encouraging you in the coming week to be gentle with people and with yourself.